Hey guys, Mr. Chalipsky. I want to take you through 203 to 205, kind of continue on with our monopolistic competition and really look at how the market share changes, which causes the demand to change and what we're working with here. Now, this shouldn't be too difficult, but the workbook does not do a good job of explaining what you see here in this graph. So the first thing I want to do is let's imagine, based on what we already know about D3 and in the long run equilibrium, a monopolistic competition must have a normal profit. So again, that's the fancy way of saying breaking even. So with that being true, that is where your price at the profit maximizing quantity is taking place. So I want to just draw our quantity as being at that specific output. That's going to help give us a better idea of where we're actually at. D3 is our normal profit, which we'll get back to in a little bit. And then also remember that demand, every time we have it, is DARP. We can't forget that, and it's just like a monopoly graph. The P is going to be your price in your DARP. So if we go through this, just start working through the questions. I'm going to be scrolling back and forth quite a bit. And let's take a look, see what we have. 8. You can read the question for yourself. The key thing is we're going to have a positive total profit. We're looking at D1. So that puts us at the exact same quantity, and our quantity is, our price is way up there, of course, much, much higher than our ATC. So the answers to these questions will be yes, yes, and the market share is going to increase. Check that. Going to decrease. Okay, it decreases. All right, because in the short run you're having a profit, more firms are going to enter, and then suddenly you're going to start having a less and less share of that market because all those firms enter. Just making a quick note here, we have a profit because price equals or is greater than ATC. Question number 9. Moving on again, you could read the question at your own pace. Our answers that we're looking at, if you go from D1 to D2, will you have a total profit? Absolutely you will. Okay, and what's going to happen here? Again, market share will decrease. Okay? Market share goes down. That's just because new firms are going to enter. So we'll say because new firms enter. Hopefully you're with me here. We followed this logic a little bit earlier today in class, but this is your first workbook going through it. So price is greater than ATC. That is going to give you your profit. All right, moving on to the next page. They start getting into assume the demand facing the firm drops from D2 to D4. So let's look. They're looking at D2, which has a profit. So we'll keep this here as a reminder. And that's going to have a profit as well. All the way down to D4. Well, D4 is our price, and our ATC is clearly well above it. So they're asking, are you going to earn a positive profit? Negative. That is not going to happen. And just a quick reminder on that is now price is less than ATC. Okay. Because of the losses, firms will leave. And when firms leave, market shares are going to increase. Now, another word for market share is the demand. We're taking a whole big market, aka like a whole pizza, as I explained in class, and when you have lots of firms in there, like a monopolistic competition or a perfect competition, you're going to get a smaller share. All of a sudden, as people start to leave and you have less companies, less firms, you're going to have more piece of the pie or more demand or more market share, however you really want to look at it. Question 11, you can go through there, and ultimately it asks, is this firm making a positive total profit or a loss at D3? Well, that's where we started out, and our firm has a price and ATC that are tangent to each other. And that word is going to be great. Again, it's one of those words that if you drop that on the AP graders, they're going to be all about it. So, do we have a profit or a loss? We're going to have neither. Okay. And that's because you are breaking even in the long run, okay, which will always happen. So, as somebody asked in class today very astutely, that means no firms enter or exit, and that is absolutely correct. Okay. Quick reminder on that. That just means price equals ATC. Okay. A lot of review, a lot of stuff that we've already covered, and that hopefully we're in a good spot to keep answering that stuff. So we continue on. It says monopolistically competitive firm in long run equilibrium. And this is what it looks like with your ATC, your AVC. I'm going to throw on the price there just to keep us on our toes with DARP. So let's see what they ask us next on page 205. And it really boils down to is if you were asked to draw a graph of a monopolistically competitive firm in a long-run equilibrium, there are two conditions you must show with your graph at the profit maximizing output. The first one, the firm's average revenue or price must be greater than or equal to your average total cost. Less than was an option 2. We know that's not correct. They got to be equal to each other. Part B, at Q star, which is our profit maximizing output, the firm's marginal revenue must be greater than, equal to, or less than its marginal cost. It's going to be equal to. How do we know our profit max? Because that's where MR equals MC. And that's huge. And going back up to part A, price is got to equal ATC, and this is going to break even. Okay. So 13 is a monopolistically competitive firm producing efficiently when it is in long-run equilibrium. Let's check it out. Productively efficient, where's that going to be? I'm going to label that in blue. That is where your MC is at your minimum ATC. Productively efficient. Okay. Are we operating there? No, we're at Q star. Okay, so you just say, nope, not producing at minimum ATC, or where MC equals ATC. Okay, all the same stuff. Now, 14 is a monopolistically competitive firm allocating efficiently. Well, do we remember where allocative efficiency is? That's going to be where price equals MC. Okay, they're very close to each other. Doesn't really matter. It's just kind of a coincidence. So I'm going to label this allocative efficiency. Again, another word for that is socially optimal. Okay, socially optimal. We're not there, so we're going to have some sort of deadweight loss. And in fact, just for fun, I'm going to draw this in to make sure we're on the right path. Okay, this green triangle here will be our bad triangle. Is where we have deadweight loss. Okay, moving on from there. Is monopoly competitive firm allocatively efficient? No. Okay, not operating where price equals MC. Okay, that's a shorthand of it, but you should also probably go ahead and say that price is greater than marginal cost at the place that we are currently operating at. Okay, so again, you're inefficient as a whole, just like a monopoly is. You're producing less than they would like you to at a higher price. So finally, 15 and 16. Is the demand curve facing a monopolistically competitive firm more or less elastic? Excuse me. That is more. Okay, you have more choices. Okay, you're more elastic, more choices. The good word for that is more substitutes. Monopolistic competition is going to have hundreds, okay, or at least a great number of firms. And so when there's substitutes, so we know the more substitutes there are, the more sensitive consumers are to price. So you're more elastic there. And if we wrap it up, what are the characteristics of monopolistically competitive firm? Two examples of such markets. First off, we'll start with gas stations and restaurants. Okay, you're getting similar products, similar things, but in a little bit different form. So some characteristics, and if you go back to our chart on 115 and a lot of the PowerPoints we've seen, you're going to have many firms, not identical products. A lot of different ways you could say that. You could just say that the products are differentiated or what have you. Entry and exit of firms is pretty easy. Okay, entry and exit firms easily. Doesn't make much sense grammatically, but you get the idea. You have some control over price. And advertising is going to be important for you. Okay, it's not as important in a monopoly. Monopoly, you barely have to do any advertising. You might do a little bit just for good PR to make yourself look good. In perfect competition, you're doing none because you have the exact same product. So all 5 of these, along with probably a few others you could list off of our previous charts, are going to give you what you need. All right, sorry this took so long, guys, but thanks for sticking around, and I hope it's a little bit helpful. Come in with any questions tomorrow in class. Thanks.